Hi, I'm Helmut, the Ecodriver, and this is the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid, which I will test for you today to see how efficient it can be driven. This is one of the most popular SUVs out there, for a good reason. Toyota's hybrid drivetrain is known as the best one in the market. I will try to get close to 4 liters per 100 kilometers, and I'll show you how to do it, so join me on the ride. So let's start our trip on the Ecodriver lab. This lab contains all kinds of requirements you can imagine. We start with a hill climb, followed by some rolling hills, and a 6-kilometer 4-mile descent. There we'll already get a good indication where the consumption will end up. 18 kilometers, 11 miles country road, with some small towns and villages, are followed by a section on the motorway, and at the end we will drive in inner city traffic. At the end of every section, I show you the overall and sectoral consumption, and at the end of the trip we will know how efficiently this car can be driven. This car has a 2.5-liter 130 kilowatt 4-cylinder engine which runs in the Atkinson cycle. The electric motor comes up with 88 kilowatts peak power, and all that is blended expertly in Toyota's excellent HSD planetary gearbox. Unladen weight is 1,615 kilograms, 3,553 pounds. We are going in eco mode as usual. As you can see, we are still running in electric mode, but I guess this will change shortly. I hope you'll enjoy the ride, the car and the scenery. At the end of the uphill section, we see a consumption here of 9.7 liter per 100 kilometers. After a short delay caused by this tracker, we are now approaching the rolling hills, and here it helps a lot to play with the road, build up speed when it goes downhill by the help of Mother Gravity, and using this momentum going into the next ascent. It also helps not trying to maintain the speed uphill at all cost. If you see it's a short hill, then it may be useful to reduce the speed slightly on the way up and only accelerate to the original speed once the hill flattens. We've passed the rolling hills now, and here at the village limit sign we have a consumption of 7.1 liters per 100 kilometers. Wow, that sounds promising for my attempt to reach 4 liters per 100 kilometers at the end. The consumption for the hilly section alone was 4 liters per 100 kilometers, which is a sign of the efficiency of the car. You may have noticed that in this section we had twice the situation that the speed limit changed to a higher one shortly before the top of the hill. But on both occasions, I waited to accelerate the car until the road flattened. It cost me only 1 or 2 seconds, but I saved a lot of energy by accelerating in the flat and not uphill. Driving downhill on a hybrid car is straightforward. Or is it not? Well, there's one thing we have to keep in mind. We have a rather small electric motor with a limited power output. This means that the braking power, or regenerative capacity, is also reduced. If you're braking too hard all the time, the foundation brakes will be used to provide the braking power required. So, to utilize the maximum regenerative energy to charge the battery, it is helpful to brake gently. On a longer descent like this one, where the amount of braking energy exceeds the battery capacity, it is not that much of an issue. What we've said about using momentum on hills is also true when it comes to driving downhill. If you approach a flat section, try to use momentum out of the descent. You see the cars in front of us? They were braking down to even below the speed limit when it was still going downhill, and now, in the flat, they need to use energy to maintain the speed. It would have been much more efficient to keep the car rolling onto the flat sections. It reduces wear and tear on the brakes and the use of fuel. At the end of the descent, we have an overall consumption of 4.9 liters per 100 kilometers. On this section, we didn't use any fuel at all. As we managed to avoid the combustion engine kicking in and the little bit of power we needed, we were able to get from the electricity stored. Cross-country roads are behind us, and what do we see? Ta-da! 4.0 liters per 100 kilometers. On this 18.3 kilometer, 29.6 miles section, we registered 2.9 liters per 100 kilometers, which is, I think, an incredible figure for this type of car. Now coming, 17 kilometers of motorway, where we are restricted to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour due to local environmental laws. At the end of the motorway, the display shows 4.3 liters per 100 kilometers. On the motorway, we registered 5.0 liters per 100 kilometers. Now we are approaching the inner city traffic. Here, the same principle applies as on the downhill section. Braking too hard and therefore exceeding the regenerative capacity of the electric motor will lead to a higher consumption, as not every bit of potential braking energy can be used and filled back to the battery. It is also important to read the road in front of you. What are the traffic lights doing? Is the car 5 in front of you already braking? One of the most important things is to keep the car in motion. Accelerating from a standstill requires a lot of energy. Therefore, avoid coming to a complete halt. What we see here is that there is already a queue of cars at the next set of traffic lights around the corner. We now lift our foot from the gas and let the car coast towards the junction. You see the car in front of us approaching the end of the queue much faster. Now he needs to brake. The traffic lights turn green now and he almost comes to a complete stop, because he is too close to the car in front. Whereas we don't have to go below 30 kilometers an hour and we use our momentum to continue. we just need to go around this corner and then we park the car in here. And what do we see? 4.0 liters per 100 kilometers at the end of our test lap. I am honestly impressed. Well, that was impressive. Toyota's hybrid Synergy drive is known as being the most efficient drivetrain in the market. They have huge experience in this field, and as they were the first ones on the market with a hybrid drivetrain for the general public, they still have an advantage over their competitors. However, even if the car gives you the opportunity to drive efficiently, save on fuel, help the environment, and so on, it's still down to the driver to bring it home. If the driver doesn't care, if the driver doesn't know how to do it, then you may end up with 7-8 liters 100 kilometers, 50, 60, 70% worse fuel economy than we had in this test. So at the end, it's not the car, it's the driver. But the car gives you the opportunity. So that was the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. If you enjoyed this video, you can subscribe to this channel and please spread the word. Thanks for watching, take care, see you next time.